A lot of the fitness industry stuff comes from like, what's the best for fat loss? And a lot of people push HIIT so much for that for the longest time. And it's like always the conversation of like, well, what's better, high intensity interval training or low intensity steady state, like, or moderate intensity continuous training? And like, there's always this argument of like, what's the best thing? Because we're always thinking about like, what's going to change our body the most, but we forget about the benefits of each of those in their own regard when we're actually trying to improve or refine physiology, especially for performance.
Turning to women's specific training and away from performance, more for women who want to train for general health, well-being, longevity. A number of experts I've spoken to have said when it comes to cardio training, a lot of women tend to focus too much on the high intensity and not enough on the volume. And then conversely, when it comes to the strength training, there's too much focus on volume and not enough on intensity. Does that echo with your experience of working with female clients? And if so, what are the implications of taking that approach of getting not a mixed intensity versus volume equation?
Yeah. So I think that the unfortunate reality and I'm sure males deal with their own versions of this, but I think that there's too much influence of like dieting, fitness, exercise advice for women. And then that gets applied to their performance advice. So they're chasing intensity or volume or overdoing it all the time because they feel like, at least in the types of people who tend to do that. So there's two types of camps. The people who are doing so little exercise volume, it doesn't really matter because whatever they're doing is whatever they're doing. And it might not be the best and most proficient for what they want to do, but also like they're not really doing enough anyway that it's like, that's great for health. And then there's the people who have specific goals or specific outcomes or performance things they want, but they're just burning the candle at both ends. They're doing like, they want to do 1,000,000 days of lifting and they want to do cardio on those days. They want to do all the cardio and they want it to all be HIIT in speed workout and high volume lifting and lots of reps and sets and circuit training and like boot campy type stuff and go. And so there is this lack of appropriate balance between the high intensity and the low intensity cardio and the quality lifting versus just like a bajillion reps of lifting. And so I do see this a lot in some subsets of clients and women that I work with where they just want to feel the burn in whatever it is that they're doing all the time because that's associated with I did enough work or it was good or it was enough or like I'm burning more calories or I'm burning fat or if I don't let go of this intensity, then it's not worth it and it's not quality and I'm not making progress, just whatever their head game is, whether it's related to their body or their performance or whatever that is. And so, yeah, I do agree that I think that women tend to do this like multiple day a week, moderate to high intensity type cardio stuff all the time, the group fitness, the boot campy, always doing speed and high intensities. And there is some truth that women might be able to handle or need a little bit more of their overall ratio coming from intensity to some degree, but not 80 to 90% of it, which is what a lot of them are doing. And then with the lifting, they're doing a lot of like high rep, underloaded or not heavy enough loaded strength training and doing a lot of volume, a lot of reps, a lot of sets, but they're never loading it to a high enough percentage of their 1 rep max or training those strength ranges or kind of shifting their training to being like more quality, higher exertion, lower volume, but you're getting almost more out of it and letting go of that feeling of doing more work is better. And so I think that, yeah, there is like, if we're thinking about performance or even like a lot of women have body composition goals or body change goals. And to some degree, a lot of what supports that is performance focused training. It's not just the burning the candle at both ends that is sold to them by the industry. And so, yeah, I think that if we can get a little bit more of the easier recoverable stuff to actually like accumulate volume and gain fitness or, hey, let's pull back all the junk volume and extra reps that we're doing in the gym and actually just increase the weight of what we're doing. So the sets that we are doing, we're getting more out of. So we're not just always doing more. We'd see a lot more progress, especially in that population. And that's not a physiological thing. That's just more of a psychosocial, cultural thing that's influencing the way we train rather than like hormones or physiology or any of that stuff.
I was going to say, it's almost as though, I think this applies to both men as well. If you do a HIIT session, you really feel it in the short, you know you've done it. Whereas if you go and do zone 2 for an hour and a half, you barely break a sweat. Likewise, if you're doing a lot of reps in the gym, you're going to get that burn, you're going to get a pump. Whereas if you're doing an intense session, again, you might not sweat, you might not feel like you've done anything. Is this kind of more of maybe a lack of general knowledge about how training works. And it feels like if we don't get that, we don't have that short-term intense feeling of training, then it wasn't worth it, even though you can't see the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, right now we're coming kind of out of this hyperswing of like the late 2000s into the 2000 teens, where everything was intensity and push it and effort and like no sweat, like, well, all those cliches and sayings and things, I can't even think of them off the mic, that you might pin on your Pinterest page. Like basically like no pain, no gain.
No pain, no gain.
Yeah, like that kind of mentality. And there's been a hyperswing, I think, too, on the contrary of this, at least in the female space, of like only do low intensity, don't do any volume, don't do any intensity, no hit, no this and that, no heavy lifting, like just walking and easy low intensity stuff. And that's just an inappropriate hyperswing. But I think that so many people, because of that, and a lot of that comes from the diet industry of like push yourself, fat loss. And it's like sometimes just counter to like what people need to be doing to appropriately make progress in their fitness that indirectly ends up supporting those goals anyway, is that they feel like, well, if I didn't feel it and it didn't hurt and I didn't hate it, then it wasn't working. It wasn't worth it. So I think people have this perception of like fitness has to always be painful or difficult or uncomfortable to be actually worth doing. And then you see zone 2 or even like, you know, higher quality lifting where it's like heavy weights, but you're not like doing so many sets and reps that you're totally toasted. You're not making your lifting cardio. Not to say heavy lifting is hard in its own degree, but like sometimes like my training sessions, especially when I'm really pushing and prepping for running and racing, I don't want my lifting to bleed all this incredible fatigue into my running training. So I'm doing a lot of athletic stuff, like more plyometrics and more like lower rep, heavier stuff with rest between and less overall stuff. And I don't feel wrecked after my lifts like I might in a more strength focused season, but that doesn't mean it's not working or not doing anything. And it doesn't need to always be, you know, I think people perceive the quality of the workout coming from the sweat and the breathing rate of what they're doing. More strength training for people who are more like obsessed with that feeling. It's hard, but it's hard for like 3 seconds in the middle of the set and then it's not so bad, right? Kind of thing. Or they're not loading it enough to really feel how hard it can be in its own special way. And yeah, so I think it's just this social perception of people who grew up with P90X and then the Orange Theory boom and now the CrossFit boom. And, you know, all those things can be fine in their own regards. But yeah, I think people have this perception that if it isn't the most high intense, hard, difficult thing in the world, then it wasn't worth your doing. And I think it is a lack of knowledge, but even people I see, they struggle with like the zone 2 thing, right? Because I've been kind of known for the zone 2 thing. And trust me, I'm the queen of zone 2 training because that's all ultra marathon training is. It's like, I mean, you do a little bit of quality stuff, but a lot of it is just you're going really slow and easy to accrue volume. And so, you know, I think people, when they start doing it, they're like, this isn't enough or this isn't good. And it takes them kind of just trusting it long enough to see it work to buy in, but they don't trust it until they see, oh, wait, I can do this and I'm not dying and I feel good and I'm making progress. And so like it almost, they have to like stick with it long enough to actually trust it. And even then sometimes they're like, well, we see this with clients at the time. Well, I want more. I need more. I need to add some metcons. I need to add some HIIT. I need to do this. And I'm like, but you don't. Like 1 day a week or 2 days a week, that's totally fine. But you don't need 6 days of this on top of your running that zone 2 for it to be worthwhile while doing the heaviest volume lifting plan. What you need is to probably pull back the lifting if you want to add in that intensity and cardio so you have more space in your week, but you don't need a bajillion days of it. You need to either say, hey, I want to focus on just this type of training, or I need to develop this, but you still have to manage that volume and that intensity. But I think people don't realize, one, that it works, because also the unfortunate reality of lower effort training is that it takes longer for people to, I feel like, to see the results from it, because zone 2 or the easy cardio training specifically, that's a process for you to start seeing adaptation and progress from that. Sometimes for some people it can take up like months, like 3, 6, 12 months of working on that to see it finally working. And so they're like, well, screw it. Why would I do this if I could just, my heart rate's high anyway, so I might as well just be intense. And it's not the same thing, but like there's this frustration between feeling like you're not doing enough while also feeling like it's not working. And it's hard.
And also, I think sometimes it can be counterintuitive. The research between increasing your VO2 max and zone 2 training to the average person, you think, well, if I want to increase my VO2 max, I need to be pushing it all the time. Whereas actually all of that zone 2 training is building that foundation and bringing all the baseline up. And I think the counterintuitive aspect is something people combined with long-term results, it feels like, oh, it's too much. It doesn't work. I don't trust the process.
Yeah. And I think the reality too, for people that sucks for them too, is the point of it is so you can do a lot more volume, and people don't have the time or bandwidth or desire to do higher volume. They don't want to do 60 minutes of zone 2. They want to do 15 minutes of HIIT and be done for the day. And I get that desire, but yeah, they don't realize that, yes, well, the HIIT training in those VO2 quality efforts are driving your VO2 max. Yes, that's important, but that easy training is building all of the machinery, right? Like, it's like, it's like basically building out a whole car so that you have the equipment that you need to be able to accelerate, right? But they just want the acceleration from the training. And HIIT and high intensity stuff. Yeah, for a lot of people, especially if you're low fitness or low training, that will take you decently far. But at some point, you can't just hit your way to developing this huge baseline of aerobic fitness and mitochondrial capacity and capillary density and oxygen delivery. Like, you have to train that. And I think it's funny because in the fitness space, we think about lifting and we're like, oh yeah, high volume for building muscle makes sense because you do a lot of volume, you build a lot of muscle, then you have more muscle that can then be refined for strength and power output that you refine with like higher percent rep max work. We think about that logically, like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, I'll spend time doing a good bit of volume, but all the higher volume stuff's at lower intensity because you can't do sets of 10 at 90% of your 1 rep max, right? So you have to pull it back to like 60 or 70 or whatever that estimate would be. You're doing less effort, but you're doing it for more reps. You're accumulating volume. You're building muscle. You're building that like strength foundation bandwidth or whatever you want to call it. And then, okay, well, I'm going to peak and prep for something. So I'm going to start spending a lot of time lifting those high intensities. Oh, we're becoming more refined there. We're making progress. We're getting stronger. We have more muscle. I feel like the fitness industry accepts that. And they're like, yeah, okay, cool, great. But then when you think of cardio of the same thing, well, let's pull back to 60, 70% of our 100% effort and do that for a lot of volume. People are like, no, that's silly. I'm just going to train at 90% all the time. And you're like, well, that isn't going to, it's, yes, that's good, but it shouldn't be all you do. And I think a lot of people really, really want that black or white, all or nothing, only do this, don't do this type thing. And I think there's also again, a lot of the fitness industry stuff comes from like, what's the best for fat loss? And a lot of people push HIIT so much for that for the longest time. And it's like always the conversation of like, well, what's better, high intensity interval training or low intensity steady state, like, or moderate intensity continuous training? And like, there's always this argument of like, what's the best thing? Because we're always thinking about like, it's going to change our body the most, but we forget about the benefits of each of those in their own regard when we're actually trying to improve or refine physiology, especially for performance, right? So it's hard to get people to break away from this or that, or like one or the other type thing, because it's like it's sold one way in the fitness industry, but then they start to have performance goals or more specific goals. And you have to start thinking of things as like if and, or like, this and that more than just only this, only intensity all the time. So yeah, there's so many perceptions, and whether that's coming from social contexts or just people feeling like they need to feel like their training's doing something for it to feel like it was worthwhile for them to do. And it's hard. I think this is the hardest part of coaching, is convincing people to do less. And because a lot of times you're convincing people to do more and push harder. There's two camps of people. Some people do need to do more and push harder, but the camp of people who needs to pull back and do less, I feel like are the hardest to convince, because they're not willing to take the chance to go long enough to find out that it's okay and you actually can make more progress there too.